Do you find yourself consistently losing the deal in a multiple offer situation? Not anymore. Let's go! We're going to go through a step-by-step process that I've witnessed the most elite investors in the game go through that wins them more deals than everybody else. Now, the first thing I encourage you to do is to watch this video right here, which is the 13 things to not say or do to a broker or a seller. The majority of the competitive bids that I see won by investors are won by investors who put in the work way before the deal even comes to market and way before they even turn in an offer. And part of that work is building a strong reputation with the listing broker and every broker in the market. Because remember, they're the ones who are going to be your advocate to the seller in your absence. Now, not to sound too salesy, but another video to watch is right here, which is about how to get brokers to bring you more deals and how to influence them to help you win more deals. And now a listing has come on the market. The first thing to understand is that over 90% of all apartment sales over 10 units are procured by a broker. Winning more competitive bids happens as soon as the listing hits the market. You're going to deeply research the listing broker. You're going to want to find their bio on their website. You want to go to their social media websites. You want to read articles about them. You want to understand the closings that they've worked on and what some of their new listings are. On LinkedIn, find out if you have any mutual friends. Maybe on Facebook, you find their profile and see what their hobbies are. The point here is to sort of personalize the transaction and personalize the relationship so that when you make that first point of contact, you already have some commonalities that you can discuss. Next, you're going to call them immediately, and later you will follow that with an email. Now, when you call, if you don't reach them the first time, also send an email and a text. By contacting them as soon as possible after the listing hits the market, it shows the broker and the seller that you're serious about this deal. Depending on when the listing came available, the first question you're going to ask is if the property is still available. If it's not available, the call's not over. Here's where you ask some more questions. Find out when it came available, find out how many buyers were interested, how many offers it got, and see if the broker will still share with you the marketing package and the financials after you sign a confidentiality agreement so that you can show that broker you're still very serious about the property, because anything can happen. If that deal falls apart and you had still asked for the property and the information about it, that shows the broker this dude is serious, and he's who I want to go back to if something falls apart in my deal. Hey, real quick, if you're getting value out of this video, hit the like button and the subscribe. That would really help me out a lot. The goal is when you hang up with that broker, even if the property wasn't available, they want to feel like you're someone they should keep in contact with. The whole time this deal is still under contract with someone else, you're keeping in contact with that broker. You're trying to show that broker that you mean business and you're a serious buyer if anything goes wrong with that deal. Going back to that initial phone call and they say it is still available, now it's time to get down to business. Now that you've found out the property is available, and let's assume you don't know the broker yet, go ahead and start telling them about yourself. Tell them about your background, the assets you own, the lenders you work with that person may know, some of the deals you've done. After you've told them a little bit about yourself, we're going to ask a couple of similar questions to earlier when we found out the property wasn't available, which is you want to find out when was it listed, what kind of traffic does it have, does he have any offers yet, and this is really important, try to find out a little more about who the seller is in a very conversational manner. Here's what I mean. You want to ask them the following questions, and I'm going to check my cheat sheet here so I don't miss any of them. Ask the broker who the actual names of the principals are. Another question to ask is where are they based out of? Again, maybe you lived there before, done business there before, visited there before, know mutual friends who still live there. You're just looking for commonalities. Has the broker sold them assets before? That'll give you a glimpse into what they like and don't like in the transaction. Another question is, how are they structured? Are they just a private ownership with just one or two partners? Are they a syndication, in which case have a bunch of other investors? Are they a big national or a REIT? Also ask them why they're selling. That always kind of gives gives you a good glimpse into how to make your offer. And with that information, you want to do a little bit of research on social media sites and Google and see if you can find additional information about them so you can kind of paint a picture of who the seller is. Make this a personalized transaction that increases your possibilities greatly of being the winning bidder in the end. Another question to ask the broker while you're on the phone with them is where they think it'll trade at on price. Now, sometimes the sellers themselves won't indicate to their listing broker what their strike price is, so you'll be getting the opinion of the broker, but anything helps helping you structure a deal for them. Next, ask the broker if the seller is working with any time constraints. Maybe the seller has to close by the end of the year. Maybe the seller intends to do a 1031 exchange, and if that's the case, then it may be a situation where you would do a regular fast due diligence period, but the seller may prefer a much longer close period with a sizable deposit from you so they know you're not going away, and that would allow them more time to find a replacement asset. Asking a simple question about time constraints, that alone could put you above other offerers who didn't take the time to find out what's important to that seller. Another great question to ask the broker are what kind of deposit structures they would like to see on the offer. What size initial deposit? What size should the second deposit be? Also, go ahead and ask them what kind of due diligence period would be ideal, and of course follow up with the closing period that we just talked about. You see, the broker knows the seller way more than you do, and they can reveal to you, based on their knowledge of what the seller's goals are, how a deal could be structured ideally for them, which will put you above the competition. Okay, we're still on the initial phone call with the broker. The next good question to ask, which shows the broker you're serious and you know what you're talking about, is what kind of documents are available to you as the buyer once you sign a CA agreement? Is there an environmental report? Are there previous surveys? Is there title available? Are all the financials available? Here's another really good question. If the seller is also a property management firm that manages for third-party companies, find out if they have an interest in continuing to manage the property after you buy it. That shows they have a continued revenue source by selling to you. Another good question to ask the broker, which they may need to check with the seller on, is assuming the seller is not a property manager, but they have really good on-site staff, ask if the on-site staff would want to stick around after the closing. Now, the reason you want to ask this question is I can't tell you how many times I've come across sellers who have had on-site staff with them for years and years and years, and they've become like family, to the point where it's actually important to them to see that they have continued employment. And so if you can reinforce that early on and in your offer, I promise you that can go a long way. You're now finally going to end the phone call by asking how you can sign the confidentiality agreement so you can get all the financials. And you're going to sign that CA immediately to show your interest level. After you've signed the confidentiality agreement and gotten the financials, I want you to immediately email the broker the bio package on yourself. In your bio package, obviously you're going to have a bio on yourself with a picture of yourself and maybe even your family. Then you want to show a list of the assets you own if you own others. You want to show them a banker letter that says that you're able to purchase assets of this size or type. You're going to attach some testimonials from other sellers and brokers. And lastly, you're going to reinforce your acquisition criteria by describing what it is you're looking for in the future. As you're reviewing the financials and the rest of the marketing package, I want you to keep contact with the broker by asking them questions via email or text or whatever you feel appropriate about the property. Even if you don't have questions and it was the best package in the world, you want to show them that you're all over this and that you mean business. Once you've reviewed all the material, which I want you to do as soon as humanly possible, and everything is still checking out, now it's time to tour the property as soon as you can. Now, when you set up the tour time with the broker, it would be ideal if you could get them to get the seller to show up. That's kind of rare, but if they will, it's a great opportunity to build rapport. When you schedule the appointment, try to schedule it for just a little bit before lunchtime so that when you finish up with the tour, it would be great to sit down and treat the broker to lunch so that you can again sell yourself a little bit more, get them to know you, so that you can do more future deals together. The next step is to turn in an offer as soon as you possibly can. The sooner you can turn in an offer, the better you make the broker look to the seller, and the more of an advocate they will be to the seller about you. Now, if the offer you're turning in is not full price or really close, I think it's a good idea to call the broker, go over some of your assumptions ahead of time, because they might be able to shed light on something that you totally missed, and you'd hate to lose the deal on a technicality. Depending on when you turned in their offer, there could be a couple of days or sometimes several weeks before the seller and the broker are going to make a choice. And if that's the case, your job is to keep regular communication with the broker, asking them questions, genuine questions about the property along the way, and just checking in and showing your interest in the asset. Because keep in mind, many of the questions you're going to ask along the way there are going to be forwarded by the broker to the seller or his staff, and they're going to see your name popping up over and over again, and that again shows them that you're serious about his property. Quick side note that's really important. If this listing were to happen to be brought to you by another broker who's not the listing agent, and you may not like this, I would highly encourage you to pay that broker directly. That will make you look a lot more appealing to the listing broker, who, remember, is going to be your advocate to the seller. By paying your broker that brought you the deal, it's usually a very small percentage of the deal, and that keeps two brokers very happy about you, which will net you way more deals in the future. And when you're in competitive bids, especially if those brokers are involved, they're going to remember that. When you get notified by the broker that you've won the bid, it's important to send them an email about your exuberance and you're excited and you can't wait to move forward, because likely that email will also be forwarded to the seller and all the partners. Now, if you lose the deal, send handwritten thank you letters to the broker and the seller. In the seller's letter, I want you to compliment their asset, compliment the broker they used, and let them know if anything happens, you're here and you love that property. In the broker's letter, compliment their marketing, their communications, and again, let them know if anything comes up, please come back to you first and you'll make it right. You'll notice I didn't spend much time at all on the offer itself, because the offer is going to be the offer. In today's time, with the technology and the access and transparency to data, most pricing of assets are spot on. Even if you think some of them are overpriced, they all tend to sell. Remember, the terms of a deal are just one part of this. A huge part to winning more multiple offer bids and getting deals sent to you is you. It's your reputation. It's how people are watching the way you treat others, the way you react in a transaction, the way you react to things that come up. The elite investors I've watched in my career, the ones who transact way more than the average investor, all have one thing in common: phenomenal reputations that precede them. And they've built those reputations mostly before a transaction even happens. They're building rapport with brokers and investors and their staff and the phase one environmental guy and the property manager and the property condition report people. All of these folks in a transaction are watching how you operate, how you talk to other people, how you treat other people, so that when they get into a transaction and they're in a competitive bid, they're already way ahead of everyone else, because those people, the brokers and the sellers, already know that they're a surety of close, they're not going to create drama, and they're going to end up at the closing table. That's what I want for you. The proof is in this part of it, not necessarily the price and the terms. I hope this video brought you tremendous value and earned you a lot more deals in the future. Thanks for taking a listen. See ya!